Well, welcome everybody to Ignite Humanity Live. I'm your host, JB Owen, and I'm super happy to have you here. Why? Because I know that if you're watching this show, it's because inside of you, you're thinking about something that you could do to ignite others. And truly, when each and every one of us step into our ability to ignite another person's lives, we absolutely are able to ignite humanity. Now, we've been showing all kinds of different episodes with all kinds of different amazing guests, and we'd love for you to check out all the things we're doing at Ignite Humanity Live by watching some of our past episodes, because you will see the progression of the show, you will see the progression of igniting humanity, and you will learn some pretty amazing things. So go check us out where you can see us and all of the episodes that we're doing at ignitehumanity.life/watch. And you can see all of our amazing videos. Now, today we're going to have a great guest. But before we get into that, I just want to share with you, I've been thinking a little bit about what's been going on the planet. And I've noticed that there's a lot of people out there talking pretty loud and proud about how bad it is, how horrible it is, how the recession and the economy and the government and the problems, and this is going to be the worst ever. And I just want to let you know for a moment, if you just think about that, a lot of people are promoting the negativity because they want you to latch on to what they're doing. They want you to invest in the program or the message or the get rich fast quick thing, figure it out, ding ding ding, we're going to fix this. But they're really not thinking about how we're going to ignite humanity in the long term. We need to be thinking about our future. We need to be realizing that when people are promoting negativity, it's because they want to scare you. They want to get you worried. They want you to feel a sense of panic, so then you're actually not on solid ground. And we here at Ignite Humanity Live want to do the opposite. I want you to feel inspired. I want you to feel capable. I want you to feel awakened to the fact and the power that you have in your life to create something, in fact, create exactly what it is you want for your family, for your community, for your neighborhood, for your country, excuse me, for the entire planet. Obviously, I get pretty excited about it when I think about it. My throat gets all clogged up, because the truth is we all need to be thinking about humanity, not just ourselves, not just following someone's big suggestion to do this because that's going to help you make money and put money in your bank account. We want you to think about ways that you can help yourself that actually in turn helps others. Because when we help somebody else, they help somebody else. And when that person can help somebody else, that person will definitely help somebody else. And when somebody helps somebody else, can you see how it happens? We truly can ignite humanity. We can make a huge connection. In fact, today is Friday, so the theme of the day is connection. You're going to hear lots of suggestions and ideas about ways that you can make a connection that will improve your life and the life of somebody else. In fact, we have 7 Ignite Humanity principles, and number 2 is unite all people and connect to everyone. Now think about that. Unite all people and connect to everyone. Now more than ever, we have an opportunity to do that with our technology, with our social media, with our abilities to travel and fly across the world and pick up the phone and get on the computer and reach as many people as possible. Every single person on the planet can be connected and can be united. And it starts with each and every one of us. And that's what this show is all about, how we can ignite one another and unite each other at the same time. So we encourage you to do that. Feel inspired. And guess what? If you've got a story about how you're igniting others and you're sharing and you're uniting, we want to hear it. So make sure you reach out to us and tell us what you're up to at ignitehumanity.life/share. All right, well, let's get right into it and introduce our very first guest, our only guest for the day. I keep saying that, our first guest, but it's our only guest. It's because I do other shows that has multiple guests. But this show, we have one main guest. And the reason why we do that is we really want to dial into and focus on one person and what they're doing to ignite humanity so that you feel inspired. See, if you witness somebody else doing something incredible, you can feel that, hey, if they can do it, I can do it too. All right, well, Pam Price is a top real estate producer on the East Coast of the United States and loves to deliver results. She is the founder of the Pam Price Community Foundation, dedicated to uplifting her community and supporting her philanthropic desires to enrich and give back to others. Welcome to the show, everybody. Here's Miss Pam Price.
Hello.
Well, hello, and welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So nice to see you. Welcome. Come on in. We want to hear all about you. Yeah. How's everything in your world? And tell us a little bit about Pam Price.
Well, I have been doing real estate for about 17 years. And just as I was able to continue to do more and more sales and be a lot more productive, I could do more for the community. And it's just kind of had a snowball effect over the last probably 10 years. And now I decided to open a foundation so that I can do even bigger things.
Yeah, well, let's to go back to the little things. I mean, you've been a real estate agent for many years, and while you were meeting families and connecting with other people, you noticed that there was a need and that you could help people. Tell us the very first philanthropic or very first do good or give back that you did that sort of sparked this idea of building connections and helping others.
I think that if I go back to the very first time, when I first started real estate, my house was in pre-foreclosure, and we didn't have a lot of money, but as we kept trying to dig out of it, and I just was doing better and better, I had bought a racehorse, and I had was bound and determined that whatever this amount the horse won that week, instead of putting it into our house where it probably needed to go. There was a little girl who had cancer, and it had came back, and she really didn't have a chance to live beyond this diagnosis. And so whatever the horse made that day, I donated to her so that she could go to swim with the dolphins, which she had never gotten to do. And it, like, just the reward of doing that I just feel like when you give, you certainly get it back tenfold. And that has been probably the most memorable thing. And not that she shot it from the rooftop, no one really knew, but like her mom made a book for me, thanking me with all the pictures from their trip. And it was beyond rewarding to do that for somebody who, when really you're barely have your head above water.
What a fantastic story. And as you tell that story, I literally can see that young girl with the dolphins, and I can feel the power of that giving back. And what I feel is the interesting part of that story is even though you were struggling and even though things weren't perfect in your life, you decided that you would still give back. And I think a lot of people wait until everything is settled in their life and everything is perfect and they have all this flush of money before they feel like they can be philanthropic. But share a little bit that it isn't that way. You can just give a little bit extra, a little bit that you give actually is a monumental amount for others.
Right, absolutely.
And so some of the things that you've been doing in addition around your community, if you want to share some of those, we'd love to hear about ways that you feel it's so powerful to connect with each other.
Sure. We also do random acts of kindness day, and I will rent different buses, or some of them donate their time, but we all meet at my office and we head out and we knock out. I mean, honestly, probably we touch 300 to 400 lives in a day. And it's just like, it could be the most simplest things that's on their list, but it gets kids involved too. And I think that is huge, that to teach kids, especially in this day and age, that, giving back is good, and making people smile is free, and holding a door and just doing kind things and having manners. And, we go and deliver donuts and coffee to all the local police officers, to the fire departments. We go to the Walmarts of the world and the Targets and the gas stations. We pump the gas for the people. We return carts at the grocery store for them. We help unload their groceries. And it's just a day of giving back. And it is honestly one of the most rewarding things. And just seeing the feedback from, like, on social media, that like, you touched my mom. We do flowers. We give out flowers. We do lottery scratch offs. Like, we just have, we hide dollars in the dollar store, and we it's just, it's $1, and like, it's just so crazy how rewarding it is that people are so appreciative for $1.
Mm.
So that just goes to show that it doesn't take a lot of money to, change the world and make, it's the little spark that keeps it going.
It's true. And, I'm going to jump over to principle 7 of the Ignite Humanity principles. It is give first and offer all you can. And sometimes people feel that that principle is, the hardest one, give first and offer all you can. But giving first, like a handshake or a hug or $1 and offer all you can, which is you or we're giving the proceeds of your racehorse, that was what you had. That was all you could, but it was what you could. It was all you had, but you did it. And I think people realize that there's energy behind giving. There's like this incredible force and this inertia that happens when you give and you really share with people. So, principle number 7 is give first and offer all you can. Would you agree that giving first has actually benefited you in your business and in your life?
Yes, like I said, if you give, you're going to get it back. I mean, it is never a loss to do something kind for someone, whether it's monetary or whether it's a hug or a checking on them or seeing if they need anything. And just through the whole pandemic, we did like flowers where you could nominate someone on my Facebook page, and my daughter and I would go out for a whole day and kind of work all through 4 counties that we covered. You could, if your mom was struggling or somebody you knew was struggling from being in locked up for so long, that we would go and knock on the door and deliver a hanging basket with a card. And again, it was less than $10, and mostly our time, and it was just so rewarding of what, how happy, and you made someone's entire day, probably their week.
You've just mentioned like half a dozen, if not a dozen, ways to connect with people and create solutions and reach out and give back. And I just want to applaud you for doing all of those things. But let me just ask you, Pam, where did that come from? What was in your life and what has happened in your world that made you realize that giving back and giving in this way, in small ways that you can see, this is a perfect example, folks, of the ripple effect of giving back. But I'd love to know, Pam, how that started for you.
Well, I have always, we always struggled, like, I mean, just with money, and the thought of someone like standing behind you at the grocery store willing to pay for your bill and not really knowing your story or anything, just like, it's not always the poor that need that, and sometimes it's just they're not having a good day, or maybe their cars broke down, or you just don't know. And I was able to be a part of a give back day. I guess 10 or 12 years ago, and we had a list, kind of like what I do now, and it was like to find a homeless person and hug them. And like we spent all day, probably 8 hours, riding on a bus doing, all these things, the same things that I'm doing. And I thought, just like what this is all about, is what it took me to see it, to see that there's so much more that we can do in the world to make it a better place. And I feel like there is so much. People are in the grocery store and they're, not even in good health, and really shouldn't be pushing the cart all the way back. And that, so many times you walk past, and instead of grabbing the cart and going back, it's just inexpensive or free 90% of the time of things that you could do to just be kind. That's my biggest thing.
I so agree. But something in your world when you were a child or when you were younger or when you were growing up, was there something that you witnessed in others that made giving so important to you?
I don't really know what that moment was, but I know that I've always been this way. Like when my great grandmother passed away, and she was just like such an idol to all of us, like the kindest soul ever. And I remember popping out of, I knew they were going to sell her house, and I went to the garage and I picked out bricks for how many kids she had. She had 6 kids, and one of her daughters did cross point, and I had bricks made with their last name was Taylor, and the year that I did it. But like when I think back, I was so young. I was only like 14 or 15, if that. And so when I think back of when, I'm not even sure when that started, but I've always been one that just wanted to make people happy. It's just always been that way.
Well, what I appreciate is you were born that way. That's been one of your divine talents and gifts, and you're following through. You're not resisting it, you're doing it. And so, folks, if you're listening and you love to give and you enjoy giving, and there's a part of you since you were little that always gives back or gives to other people, follow that instinct. I remember when my son was about 4 years old, we were in a restaurant and there was a baby crying in the table next door. And the baby was really, really, really crying. And we were all talking at the table. And suddenly I looked and my 4-year-old was missing. And I looked down and he had walked over to the buffet, got a little piece of bread, and then he went over to the baby bassinet and he put the bread inside to give it to the baby because he thought that that would help make out to stop crying. And it was at that moment I realized his generosity and his give back. And then obviously sort of witnessed that in him many other times. We were at a big carnival and they dropped all this candy from like a giant balloon in the air and it all came showering down and the kids scrambled to pick up the candy. And my son got 5 little pieces, but there was a little boy beside him who got none. And my son took 3 of his 5 and gave it to the little boy who was crying, who had none. And it was sort of at that moment I realized that give at first and offer all you can. He could have just gave 1 candy and kept 4 for himself, but he actually gave more. And I feel like he's inspired me in a lot of ways to offer all that you can. And I feel like you have that in you. You have that same innate wantingness and willingness, obviously, to give. Tell us a little bit about your Ignite moment, because we always know that Ignite moments help us feel more connected to each other, help us understand each other. And you have a very powerful Ignite moment.
Yes, so I worked for corporate America for about 20 years in the mall, um, in a very unhealthy atmosphere as far as very sales driven. You know, we had to make calls to our stores and just hound for sales, and understandably, that's how it works. But at the same time, when I picked my 3-year-old up from daycare, um, I asked her how her day was, and she said it was good. And did you make your goal, mommy? So I had already instilled it in her by her listening to me every day that that is, you know, the highest priority of your life is, did you make your goal today? And when I drove away down the road, and I'll never forget where I was, what time it was, the whole nine, I went home, I signed up for my real estate classes, and I was pregnant with my second child and had made my mind up that I was going to work for my own goals. And I knew that if I could be successful selling jewelry and, you know, working in the mall and working for someone else's goals, that I could do my very own. And that is what I did. And during my leave, having my baby with colic for an entire year, I took my leave, and with a screaming baby, I did my real estate class. And I've been a top producer since the very first year, and I'm on my 17th year.
Yeah, you are very, very successful and you're a bit modest about it. And we haven't really dipped into your success in real estate. But going back to that story, I love the fact that you said, and kids are so powerful about inspiring Ignite moments for sure. But in you, you said, and it was very, very poignant, I was going to start working for my own goals. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Well, I feel like, you know, if you're good in sales and you can, you know, make it happen, then why aren't you going to where the commissions are the highest? And it, but it also has to be something you love. And someone said not long ago that I did, you know, you pick up on every little word. It was, if you love something, you become obsessed. And that is how I run my business. Is it is an obsession for me to help my clients. It's not a job. It is more about relationships and making sure that from start to finish, that they feel like family. And some of my closest best friends have come right out of being a client that I had never met before. But that is the kind of relationship that I want people to feel when they're with me, and how I've been able to build a business like I have from the ground up is because it's your connection. And if you love it, you will be obsessed and, want to do everything you can for everyone that works for you.
Well, today is about connections. And so give us some tips and strategies on ways that people can make connections to help ignite others.
I think just being there and being present and in constant contact with your clients or friends. And I feel like we all have, we have it in us, and it's just a matter of who you choose to hang around. And I'm one who, I can't do negative Nellies or Eeyores or any of those. Like, I just have to be around positive people, because in the end, like, if you're not around positive, then I just can't imagine what your life is like if you're not in a happy place. And you can't be in a happy place if you're surrounded by unhappy people.
It's a really good point, because there's a vibration and an energy around negativity. I talked about it right at the top of the show. This negativity, I call it neggy-nims, where people just have this negative energy, and they use words like never and can't and won't and shouldn't. And there's all of this neggy-nim energy. I'm with you. I call it a posy-nim. Like, how do we posy-nim that? In fact, folks, I'll give you a little suggestion on Connection Day. One of the ways you can really inspire your kids and connect with them is if, when you hear them say a neggy-nim, like I can't make it, or I'll never do good on this test, or I won't score a goal, or is to ask them, hey, how can we posy-nim that? How can we bring it into the positive? And just ask them to think of what is the opposite of the negative feeling that they're having? What is the positive thought? And then you inspire them and encourage them to create a sentence that affirms the positive, like I'm going to do great today on the test, or I'm absolutely going to make that goal, or if people like and enjoy being around me. And when you teach your kids and your partner and your spouse and your team and the people around you that you only talk in a positive, then they start being positive around you. And so, Pam, what's one of your favorite positives? What's one of the favorite things that you like to say that just gets you motivated and inspired and feeling positive?
I would say, like, win the day. Like,
Win the day.
you just, it's your mindset. And if your mind is set to have a good day, you're going to have a good day. And there are going to be things that make you not think that it's not going to ruin your whole day. And those are the things that you really have to keep in mind, is it isn't, one bad thing doesn't determine your whole day, and it's your mindset. And if you're doing all the right things and being inspiring to others, you're going to have a good day.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you step forward thinking that your day is going to be great, you kind of emanate that. And then other people sort of feed off of that. Like, I always say we're mirrors to each other. In fact, they did a study that when people yawn, that another person will always yawn, because it's like a mirror. So if you're happy and you're feeling positive, then it just becomes a mirror for other people, and that creates connection. All right, as we're wrapping it up, because we could be talking about connections and all sorts of things, what would you really love to instill in the readers today, and the listeners? I say readers because, I love books, but in the listeners today that are watching this show, they haven't met you before. Maybe this is their first time at Ignite Humanity Live. They're not really sure what it's all about, but they're listening to you, and you have a chance to really pour into somebody and truly make a good, honest, impactful connection. What would you like to share?
I would just say it takes one small spark to feed the fire. And you doing one single thing just today, pick one thing that you could do to make someone's day. If you can't afford to pay for a meal, or you can't afford, like, even at, coffee, and you pay for the person behind you, it literally is the most rewarding thing whether it's to hold the door or give them a hug or anything at all that you could think of to give somebody a smile is going to make your day. And that is what I feed off of every single day.
I absolutely agree with you. So delighted to have your words of wisdom. Happy to have you on the show. Let's tell everybody how they can find you and find out a little bit more about you. Go to PamPriceandassociates.com. You can learn more about Pam, find out what she's up to, see what she's doing. And of course, if you're looking to sell or buy your home on the East Coast, Pam can help you. But more importantly, her foundation, the Pam Price Community Foundation, where she is helping others. And you have heard all the amazing things that she does for her community and the people around her to support them and enrich their lives. Pam, thanks for being on the show. So much blessings to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, fantastic. The thing about this show is to help you feel inspired that you can do it. A lot of us are feeling overwhelmed. We're feeling like we just can't take on one more thing in our lives. We can't afford it. We don't have the time. We don't have the energy. The truth of it is we do have all of those things. There's infinite amount of money and things available. There is infinite amount of abundance. We have time. We have the ability to manage our time, to take care of our time, to respect our time. And we have the wonderful, incredible human ability to create connections. Ignite moments are those powerful connections, as you heard when Pam's daughter said to her at 3 years old, "Mommy, did you make your goal today?" It shocked and rocked something inside of her to shift her life and do it differently. We all have ignite moments. We have those moments where something happens to us that so deeply wakens us up that we have to be different. And my goal is that when you watch this show, something becomes an ignite moment for you. Something triggers you, something awakens you, something becomes the spark. And my goal is that you listen to our guests and you realize that they're just like you. They've had trials and tribulations. They've gone through struggles. And they may be at a really good place right now, but at one time they had to pull themselves forward. And the whole reason why we share Ignite Moments and talk about inspiring others is because we each can pull one another forward. Every single person is just a little bit ahead of somebody else. There's somebody ahead of you and there's somebody behind you. So no matter where you are in your journey, as you move into the positive, you can pull somebody else forward. You can inspire them. All right, well, check out everything that we're doing at Ignite Humanity. Go to our website, ignitehumanity.life, and see the things that we're doing. We're writing a book about igniting humanity. We're doing a documentary and a docuseries. We're inspiring others through our travel and through our building of schools around the globe. If you'd like to support us and move the needle forward, and like Pam said, just donate $1. $1 buys a brick in one of our schools, and we would love for you to donate. Go to ignitehumanity.life/donate and give a little bit. Just $1 could have your impact on 80 kids or more lives in the school, because that was a brick that contributed to building of that school. So please support us in that. And please share with us what you're up to. If you'd like to be on the show, we'd love to see you. Go to ignitehumanity.life/share and tell us what you're doing to ignite humanity. All right, we're here Monday to Friday to ignite humanity and inspire you. We'll see you next time. I'm JB, your host. Happy to have you here. Go out and have a beautiful day.
Now, more than ever, we need to come together to connect with one another. We need to feel the truth in who we are and let go of everything that's happened in the past. We need to empower every person on the planet and awaken hearts, enliven souls, come together, laugh, play, rejoice, connect, create, and love. It's time to ignite humanity. We want you to be a part of something that will impact the future for everyone. We want you to tell your story, share your Ignite moment, show people who you truly are. Be a part of igniting humanity and making a difference in the world and all of our futures.